The wrath sing, goddess of Peleus' son Achilles, that destructive wrath which brought countless woes upon the Achaeans, and sent forth to Hades many valiant souls of heroes, and made them themselves spoil for dogs and every bird. Thus the plan of Zeus came to fulfillment. With such words the Iliad of Homer begins. And Homer begins his great work with the words of the theme of the book. The rage of Achilles. The wrath sing. That destructive wrath. The rage of Achilles is our theme as well today, as we look at this magnificent tale, one of the most ancient of great works handed down to us. Greetings. Welcome to my adventurous song. I am your host, the Master of Chorus. The story of the Iliad is centered around the rage of Achilles, the major hero fighting on behalf of the Greeks in the Trojan War. What is interesting is that we don't have the complete tale of the Trojan War from beginning to end in one full story from the ancient world. Rather, it was written in a series of works that collectively are known as the epic cycle. Unfortunately, very few portions of the epic cycle have come down to us. But what we do have in a largely complete form are Homer's two great epic poems, the Iliad and the Odyssey. The Iliad itself is the most comprehensive piece that we have about the Trojan War, but even it only concerns a very short period of time near the end of the war. It is not about the whole of it, or even the beginning, or the very end of it. It is about the rage of Achilles toward the end of the war. But the rage of Achilles is key to the story, and so I want to look at several aspects to this. First, the drama of the story is centered upon the rage of Achilles. The whole story is centered upon his wrath. And by that, I mean it begins with it, and the drama of the war is centered upon it. The story begins as the Trojan War has been raging for 9 years. The priest of Apollo is furious because Agamemnon, the high king of the Greeks, has stolen away his daughter, Chryseis. And so a plague breaks out because Apollo is angry. Agamemnon thus has to return Chryseis to her father in order to make it stop. However, because of this, he demands Achilles' war bride in return, Briseis. Achilles is furious at this, and so he refuses to fight for the Greeks any longer. Achilles then goes to his mother Thetis, who is a goddess, and pleads with her to speak to Zeus, the king of the gods, and ensure that the Greeks know that they need Achilles, and that they cannot win the war without him. Zeus reluctantly agrees and gives his word. And so this is what sets up the great drama of the war from henceforth. Zeus must ensure that Troy is continually pressing the Greeks so that they will realize that they need Achilles. And so what happens on the battlefield is a direct result of that. There is great valor on both sides and tremendous battles. Heroes are made and slain on the battlefield. But it all comes to a halt when Achilles' best friend Patroclus takes his armor and faces off against the Trojans' greatest warrior, Hector. Hector is clearly the greater warrior and slays Patroclus. This leads to Achilles being furious and possessing greater rage than ever before. There is a whole build-up as the gods forge and bring him armor and give him nectar to prepare for his fight. Agamemnon returns Briseis to him unharmed, and Achilles gets ready for war. And then Achilles returns to the battlefield, and he becomes a titan. He slaughters hundreds of Trojans, and none can stand in his way. At one point, he fights against a river god itself, which is angry because he's pouring so much Trojan blood into its waters. Achilles' rage bursts forth as he hunts down Hector, And then as we come to the climactic battle between Achilles and Hector, there is this incredible line about Achilles. Surging over the plain, blazing like the star that rears at harvest, flaming up in its brilliance, far outshining the countless stars in the night sky. He comes forth like a blazing star in his fury, hunting down Hector. And he chases Hector around the walls of Troy until finally they fight and he slays him. He then takes Hector's body and attaches it to his chariot and drives it around the walls of Troy, again and again, until finally he is visited by Priam, father of Hector and king of Troy, who requests his son's body back. At this point, finally, the rage of Achilles is spent, and the conclusion of the book is of funeral celebrations for Hector and Patroclus. So you can see the rage of Achilles and how it contributes to the drama of the book. Now, secondly, we see in this book that the rage of Achilles is a very powerful vision of human passion. Achilles is driven by this passion, this rage, and it pushes him to do great things. This is a tale of war and destruction. And so the great deeds that he does are slaughtering warriors on the battlefield. His rage pushes him to tremendous feats of strength, power, and heroism, as well as violence. And it presents us a very powerful picture of the human person and what they can do when possessed by great passion. Here we see the destructive force of rage as Achilles goes forth and slaughters hundreds, and none can stand before him. And what I really want to communicate with this point is that the rage of Achilles is a vision for us of what passion looks like. What do I mean by great passion? I mean a deep and abiding emotional engagement to one particular thing. A great focus that consumes the mind and the heart and the soul. It is a pushing oneself and one's emotions and one's faculties to the absolute limit in service to one objective. And so this presents for us a unique picture of human passion. For Achilles, it is pure rage and the desire to kill and to slay and to destroy. But it doesn't have to be. This passionate warrior on the battlefield, coming forth like a shooting star in the heavens, could also have been devoted to something else. Something creative, something noble and honorable and good. And so that leads me to my third point, which is this. The Iliad is actually a very human book. Despite being written nearly 3,000 years ago, it communicates a vision of human passion pushed to its fullness in rage. Now, of course, we should not let rage drive us. We should not be driven by revenge, by anger, by hatred. But rather, we should have great passion for the good. What is it that you are passionate about? What will push you to great deeds, works of heroism, acts of valor, deeds which shall be told about 3,000 years from now? Let us therefore be those who go forth as shooting stars, passionate for the light of good things, for truth, for goodness, for beauty, for nobility, for honor, for chivalry. Let our song be told about the great light that we shine to others. Thanks for listening. New from My Adventurous Song. Quest for the Coryphon by Christian Richards is the latest exciting tale of heroism and courage. When 16-year-old Matthew Falstrom faces the destruction of his homeland by a previously dormant volcano, he doesn't know what to do. That is, until the medallion he's been wearing for years suddenly lights up, magically pointing the way forward. The wizard Galdric helps guide him, explaining that the answer lies in magical beings known as the Coryphon. But there's one problem. No one knows who or what the Coryphan are, or where they will be found. Together with Galdric and 5 other companions, Matthew will journey to the edge of the world, facing fearsome warriors, powerful wizards, magical creatures, and much more. He will reach his very undoing and finally learn if he has the power to save his homeland. Available now as an ebook on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, and Google Play. See the links in our description below.